Well, the Biden administration has signed off on a prisoner swap deal with Iran that also includes the release of $6 billion in frozen assets to Tehran in exchange for 5 U.S. hostages. Meantime, the Jewish community in Iran is being urged to refrain from publicly celebrating the upcoming Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, due to rising tensions in the capital city of Tehran over the impending one-year anniversary of the death of Mahsa Amini, a young Iranian woman who died after being detained by police. Joining us now is Rabbi Yaakov Menken, Managing Director of the Coalition for Jewish Values. Rabbi Menken, always good to have you on. A lot to get to today, but first, let's talk about this prisoner swap deal with Iran. It is receiving a lot of criticism from Republicans and also from some Democrats as well. Of course, the big issue here is that $6 billion in Iranian assets that will be released to the country. Some lawmakers are saying this is nothing more than ransom being paid to Iran. But Rabbi Menken, what of that money? How will it be used? And what sort of impact could that have on the U.S. and also our biggest ally in the Middle East, Israel?
Well, it kind of is as you outlined in the package that preceded that, where you said that, here we are, we're coming up on the one-year anniversary of a woman who was murdered. There were, of course, robust protests against the government last year. What are they going to use the $6 billion to do? What are they going to do with that money? They're going to repress their own people, and they're going to encourage terrorism throughout the region. Why do we know that? Because that's what they've been doing with the money they have so far. They've not been using the money to enhance the lives of their people. They've not been using the money to build infrastructure in Iran. They've been using it to fund Hamas and Hezbollah to commit acts of terrorism against Israel. And they've been using it to repress their own people. It's obvious that this is going to continue. It's a problem when people decide to negotiate with terrorists. It's terrible that 6 Americans were detained. And of course, all of that was illegal. But the problem is that when in return for that, they get $6 billion. Not only do they get 6 detained terror supporters returned to Iran, but they're also getting $6 billion to finance more of the same.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the Jewish community is kind of on high alert there in Tehran because of possible gatherings, maybe violence over Mahsa Amini's death, the anniversary. There's also safety concerns in Israel as well as we come up on the High Holy Day. What more do you know about that?
Unfortunately, the Mossad keeps their secrets very well. We don't really know what's going on. But if they say they're on high alert, there's obviously been some warning. I mean, the same with FBI alerts in this country. We don't really know what the details are. We just know that they're planning, that they've got word that the terrorists are planning something, and therefore the community needs to be extraordinarily vigilant.
Yeah. On a different note, but I want to stay in Israel. Yesterday, the country's Supreme Court heard its first challenge to the judicial overhaul, which has sparked numerous protests and divided the country. Can you give us more of an update on this and where you think this is all headed?
Well, I don't really know the inner workings of what's going on in Israel. What I can tell you is the judicial reform is not only reasonable, but at its core, it is democratic. The current judiciary in Israel, unlike in the United States and in most other first world countries, the current members of the Supreme Court there have extraordinary sway over who is selected to join them. And they are not subject to the normal democratic nominating process, for example, of that used in the United States, which kind of ensures a balance of judges who favor, that at least they're selected according to the values of one party over the other. That doesn't exist in Israel. And here, the idea of judicial reform is to allow the democratically elected Knesset, the parliament, to have more of a say in the final laws in the country. And the idea that itself is going in front of the judiciary is a failure of the whole process.
Well, Rabbi Menken, we have to leave it right there. Always great to have you on. Thank you so much for weighing in. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great week.
You too.